The Blacklist Season 9, Episode 5, Breaking Down, Recap, and Review. So what's in the box? The episode opens with a man driving a car while speaking frantically on the phone with a woman hiding out in a hotel. Suddenly all of the screens in the man's car begin to go haywire. He starts grabbing at his head while his nose bleeds, and he loses consciousness and crashes the car. The man dies on their scene, seemingly not from the crash, but from whatever unearthly tremors just tracked his body, apparently caused by another man in a van nearby, operating a handheld device that looks no more interesting than a video game controller. But even with that small amount of intel, Reddington knows what's going on. He asks Demb more on their BFF angst later if he's ever heard of Havana Syndrome, a series of ailments first reported by American diplomats in Cuba. As it turns out, Havana Syndrome wasn't a syndrome at all but the result of a directed energy weapon that could precisely pinpoint its target and penetrate through walls without detection to severely harm them. Reddington tells Demb that the Americans took Cuba's specific target technology in the Yankee Doodle spirit of, anyway, you can kill, I can kill better, and expanded it into a potentially catastrophic level. Demb tells the task force that the chief engineer in charge of expanding America's directed energy weapon technology was Dr. Benjamin Okara. Until Okara disappeared, along with his 5-person team of engineers, including the 2 panicked people we saw at the beginning of the episode. We know the man from earlier is already dead, and we soon find out that the woman is next. Okara has tracked her down to her hotel room, and when she sees the wire she's hung from the ceiling fan glowing bright, she knows that he's arrived to kill her with the energy weapon they created together. Just before Okara arrived, however, the woman received a call from one of the other engineers on their team who gave her coordinates to his hideout. Okara saw the coordinates written down inside the hotel room, but luckily, or unluckily as it were, Rissler and Park saw them as well. Aram tracks down the location, and Park and Demb arrive on the scene to tell the engineer that Okara may be after him. Unfortunately, Okara is already there, and once again, pinpoints his energy technology directly on top of their engineer, killing him on the spot. Even more unfortunately for fans of the Task Force gang, Agent Park is nearby, and though she's not directly hit by the energy attack, she is still convulsing and incoherent when Demb finds her on the ground. Demb immediately makes a call for help, we assume to his FBI resources, but only one person could get a helicopter on location with a single phone call, and Reddington is none too happy that Demb called on his team. All episode long and presumably for longer than that, Reddington has been dealing with a former associate who no longer wants to do business with him because of his former associate Demb's Yuma jumping ship to the FBI. Reddington has worked very hard, interestingly, in ways we've rarely seen, to keep his connection to the FBI secret, and by becoming an FBI agent during the series' mysterious 2-year time jump, Demb has put all of that hard work in jeopardy. Reddington tells Demb angrily on the phone, "You're in or you're out, you can't be both. It's one or the other." Which is kind of a silly thing to say to someone who he's literally still co-workers with on a task force that regularly blurs the line of personal and professional. But there's obviously something deeper going on here with Reddington and Demb. They keep mentioning something that happened in Brasilia during the time jump, and Reddington tells Demb that assisting him now could prove fatal, and despite our recent unpleasantness, I should hope that would be significant enough to steady your hand. But what's done is done, and Demb was able to get Park to the hospital in time to ward off most permanent damage. For Park, that hospital visit comes with good, bad, and tragic news. The good news is that Park doesn't have cancer, and her urine only indicated she might because it was applied to Rissler. In a woman, the high levels of HCG actually meant Park was pregnant. But the directed energy attack caused her to lose the baby, a tragic reveal that her husband finds out at the same time he finds out that Park had been lying to him about returning to fieldwork, a lie that was hard to continue once she landed in the hospital from energy poisoning. And speaking of the directed energy weapon, it's probably worth noting that every time we see Okara use his own technology, he looks extremely conflicted about killing his former colleagues. He also looks physically affected by the same torture that he's doling out on others. Okara has a permanent tremor, halted movements, and sensitivity to light because, as turns out, he was the victim of directed energy attacks himself when the Pentagon sent him to study the technology in Cuba so he could replicate it for the US government. Reddington is able to use his connections to track down an address for Okara, and when the task force descends upon him, he's sitting inside his van with a directed energy weapon, as well as a homemade bomb. Okara has been killing his former colleagues not because he wants to keep the technology to himself in order to get rich, but because he never wants anyone to be able to create this technology again. He stole the prototype, wiped any evidence of its existence from the Pentagon databases, and finally, killed everyone with any knowledge of how to replicate it, all because he wants to save the world from the torture his design is capable of inflicting. Aram and Ressler attempt to stop him but finally heed his warning to back as far away as possible, and Okara blows himself, and his greatest mistake to pieces. In their episode's final moments, Reddington shows up at Demb's house after preventing his suspicious colleague from killing Demb and tells him that he expects the same amount of protection in return. Reddington wants Demb to kill the suspicious colleague to tie up any loose threads, and for a moment, it seems like Demb has done it. But Demb really has turned over a new leaf, and it was Reddington's new bodyguard, Weecher, who killed the man. Instead, we leave Demb unwrapping a package that a flashback reminds us Reddington once gave him with the instruction to open it on the day you decide to leave. So, I guess the end really has come, and you guys, it is looking dark. So thank you for watching. Please not forget to like our video, then subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for new